Hey Monica, how are ya?
Good. How are you?
It's been a while, hey?
It has. It's good to see
Yay.
you.
So you're still in LA?
I am still living in LA. Born and raised. Haven't left.
Awesome. Let me just go live on Facebook and then I'll show you something just to prompt our discussion.
Okay, I'm excited.
Do you remember
Whoa!
this?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so this was like
What it,
when we attended was that the first showing or one of the
that
showings
was
of
the
your
world premiere. Yeah.
the world premiere, and we were like
Yeah.
in the Chinese. Is this the Chinese theaters in Hollywood?
The Chinese theater in Hollywood. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I felt like, wow, this is so cool. I'm in Hollywood for a premiere.
Yeah. Hollywood premiere.
Yeah, literally. And then that was like in the theater,
Yeah.
Eve, and then
Mhm.
pretended to be part of the
To be
thing,
on the
and
red
then
carpet. Well, green carpet.
the green carpet. So
Oh
maybe
my God.
we could start talking about how you made that movie because I believe it's quite a personal thing for you, right? This movie.
Yeah, very personal. How it came to be.
Yeah, yeah. It's like give us an idea that how do movies come about? It's like I think
I
most people don't know how movies
fuck
get
if I
made.
know.
Now, how did you make that one?
I'm trying to figure that out. I mean, there's so many different ways they can come about.
Mm,
Um, so this one came about really from my boyfriend at the time, who is now
mm.
my ex-boyfriend. We just had this desire to make a movie together. He is a screenwriter, and
Okay.
I'm work mostly as a director and producer, but mostly director.
Mm.
And basically, I mean, it's such a like complicated story, but basically, he had this script that he had written before he met me that he wanted to produce, and asked me to like come on board to help him make it. And we started just talking about how to do it like for basically as little money as possible because we just had this script and we had like no money. So we're like,
Mm.
how can we make this just like on as low budget as possible with if we had even like $10,000, how could we make it?
Wow.
And the script that he had was set in a small town and it had kind of a lot of characters and a lot of locations. So we basically we've tried to figure out how to pare down all the characters to just two characters
Mm.
and to set it in LA so that we can shoot it around Los Angeles. And and from that discussion, basically from the necessity of but just budget, our creative minds started um, basically just creating a completely new story from this template.
So you
Um,
started with a template, and then when you worked together, it changed completely.
yeah, it changed
Awesome.
completely, really out of necessity.
Mm.
And really so the script was about a young man who loses his father at the beginning of the story, and he he learns that he has this half brother from his
Mm.
father that he never met. So he finds this out after his father dies and wants to go meet the brother. And he learns that the brother lives in this small town. So he goes to the small town to meet the brother. And in that small town is this girl that he ends up meeting and having a romance with. And at the same time, it's like there's this whole family drama
Mm.
um, that he becomes entangled in. And it's very much just like a straight ensemble cast drama. And so my idea my idea to set it in Los Angeles with just two characters was like, what if what if there actually was no, I'm gonna give away the whole plot of the movie right now. That's okay, that's okay. So my idea was like, what if there was no
Spoiler
brother?
alert! Spoiler alert!
Yeah, major spoiler alert, but that's okay. So like, what if there was no brother, and this girl was just like like the girl that he has a romance with, um, was the one that like wrote this letter and left it on his car about the half brother, and she put her address, and the whole thing was just this ploy to get him to come to her and to seduce him and to have this, to just like have this crazy romance with him, and the whole thing was fabricated. So like an act, like this thing that you like was totally real, like we're like, what if the whole thing was fabricated? And
Yeah.
that just changed the whole dynamic of like who she was, because then it became about like what kind of person, because we also wanted to be grounded in reality, so it was like what
Yep.
kind of person would um write, would completely fabricate this in order
Mm.
to have a man fall in love with her. Like
Mm.
a real, what kind of real person would do that, and and like what would that mean about her,
Mm.
and what kind of like what kind of man would um be susceptible to, or to fall for that character, and
Mm.
what would that mean about him, and what would need to be driving him, um in order for him to be so desperate to find these answers and the truth,
Mm.
but he was kind of blinded by what might be obvious to another person. So
Mm.
then it really became about like these characters and their dynamic,
Mm.
and like, as of course, like because me and my boyfriend were creating them, we were realizing that these characters were basically so infused with our own identities and things about these darker parts of ourselves, and the
Mm.
way that they related to each other, um, and the way it was like very much mirroring our own relationship. And it kind of, it felt like the creative process was really um, like kind of writing itself, and as we were having our relationship and making the movie, it was a 3-year process, and
Mm.
so it very much felt like our relationship was taking its course as this movie was taking its course, and it was all like unfolding like simultaneous, like mirroring, art was mirroring, imitating life, or vice versa,
Yeah.
something like
I,
that, yeah.
yeah, I think someone said that most, if not all, of creative work is partly autobiographical. So this is a case in point, right?
But yes, definitely a case in point.
Because if you think about it, you you're creating something from you. So anything you create would somehow be infused by who you are, right? So that's quite interesting.
I think I find it to be inevitable, even if
Mm.
you're making a story, even if you're telling a story that isn't directly autobiographical. It could be about you know,
Space or zombies or
yeah,
yeah.
aliens or something so far removed. Like, I find it inevitable that who you are is going to come through.
Yeah, and I think that's why I enjoyed your movie as well. I felt it was really real like that, you know, and I think that's what some people miss with there's this I heard a talk once where when I went to film school here as well in Sydney, and one of the teachers was talking about, you know, Jaws,
Yeah,
Spielberg movie, and then people copied the plot of a shark, blah blah. But they missed
yeah,
the point. It wasn't about that. It's about a father and son relationship. You know what I mean? It's really like the shark is just a tool, but the real depth is in the characters, right? And when you copy the plot and you miss the nuance, you don't get it. It's not as successful. And in the same way that like Toy Story is about discovering who you are, and it has deeper archetypal things, right,
Yeah, it's
than just
all
the plot.
about like what the subtextual um emotional like core of the story is, like what the human part of it
Mm. Yeah.
is.
So then you get the story. I'm just laying out for people who don't know. So you have the story, people write it. And then what does the producer do and what does the director do? Just out of curiosity.
So I would describe it as the director, in terms of like orgasmic meditation language, like the director
Yeah.
the feminine and the producer's the masculine, meaning
Oh,
like,
got it. Yeah.
the director is the creative vision, um, of the story of the whole of the piece of art. They have the creative vision for it, and the producer is the one who kind of creates the structure and hires the team, like the business
Mm-hmm.
manager of the whole project, and the one sort of shepherding the director and making sure that the vision comes through by supporting them with all the people that need to be hired to support that vision. The actors and the crew, and they bring the money to the table and all the resources and the structure, and the director sort of picks and chooses, what elements, like they have a part in choosing the talent and the crew,
Mm-hmm.
um, in terms of like, does this fit my creative vision? Like, does this actor have the right qualities, for the story that I see? Does this, cinematographer have the ability to do the look of the film that I want? But
Mm-hmm.
the producer's like really there, just like, kind of like in support of what the director needs, in
Mm-hmm.
support of really what the film needs. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the film is like the orgasm,
Mm-hmm.
and like the producer's like, okay, what is it? Like the desire? What does it need?
Mm-hmm.
Um, to bring the vision to fruition.
Mm. It's a bit like the director is the what and the producer is the how. How do we get the
Exactly.
what
That's
done?
that's
Yeah.
like a very perfect way to describe it. Yes. Yes.
Awesome. And then the cinematographer is the one operating the camera, right? And then
Well, on most productions, the cinematographer is actually not the one physically operating the camera. There would be
these are the camera one, the cameraman, right? Who
There'll
are
be like a
humans.
cameraman who's physically operating, and then the director of photography is kind of like the director of the movie, in that they're, directing the vision of the actual look of the film to that cameraman, and
Mm-hmm.
to the lighting team.
Mm-hmm.
So they've talked to the director about, and collaborated on what type of look and aesthetic they want for the whole film, and then based on that being tunneled from the director to the, cinematographer, the cinematographer will then, direct, like make decisions based on that to the lighting team and to the camera operator, in order to make sure, that look is achieved.
Yeah, and then you have sound and editing. It's like it's
It's so
still
fucking complicated.
yeah, no, but I mean, it really amazes me how movies get made because there's so many moving parts, and I don't know how it all comes together. Right? It's quite interesting. It must be
It's
fascinating
such
to
a,
be
it's,
inside that process, right?
yeah, it's such a complex puzzle, and like intricacy of different people, and, um, just how they're, all coming together, and each project is different, right, with each
Yeah.
team of people, and like the story, and you could make you could make 100 films, and each one would be such a different experience.
It's like an ohm. Each ohm is different. It's amazing. There's a lot of correspondences, right?
There is a lot, yeah, there
Yeah.
is a lot.
Maybe we could. We still have I just wanna see if we could bring up your website of the website of the film, and we could see, because I think the website has a clip, right,
It
of the
does.
scene. Yeah,
There's,
maybe.
I think there's a few clips.
Yeah, so maybe we could see one.
I think the trailer might be on there as well.
All right. All right. Let's do the trailer.
Oh my God. Is it like speeding up?
All right. Let me do it. Okay. Let's do that. Try that again. Take two. See it now? Yeah. That was really cool. How does it feel seeing that again?
So I don't know how it played on your end or for everybody, but it was kind of like jittery, and I didn't have sound either, so I didn't know if it was playing
Oh, okay.
or not. Did
That's a
you?
shame. Hmm.
Did it
So
play for you?
yeah, I could hear it, but it's
Well,
interesting.
it was cool. It was cool watching it, regardless.
The actors were really great. How did you find them?
The actors.
Yeah.
Um, just through LA Casting, through a website, a casting website based in Los Angeles, where anyone, whether they're like SAG or non-SAG, can submit their reels. And then I just would hold casting calls really like daily, 5 days a week for about 2 months.
So
See
two
about,
months of going through people. Wow,
yeah, I would
interesting.
see about 50 people a day. And
Wow.
we hired some assistants to just hold the auditions, and then we would watch tapes at the end of the day. And we just did that for a couple of months. And till, yeah, nobody was, for her, nobody was even like remotely close. When I saw her
Mm.
audition, I was like right away, like she said 2 words, and I was like, I just got chills. I was like, oh my God, everything that is her.
Yeah, Hannah Tell is like perfect for that role. It's like
It's like
amazing.
so so magically perfect.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the guy, was he from England, or did you have to learn the accent?
Yeah, he was. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I actually, that's obviously, well, not obviously, but that's not how it was written. And
yeah.
so I just thought he was brilliant, and I really wanted to use him. So I asked him, to do an American, And at the end of the audition, he's like, "Oh my god, I thought I've been doing that the whole time." So he just couldn't, like, he couldn't get rid of the accent no matter what. So we basically just said, "Okay, just that's fine. We won't explain it." Just
But it's
you have
good.
an
It actually
accent.
added to me. It added like a sense of mystery, right? Like
Yeah.
and more character. I don't know, more nuance and character. That was, yeah. So in a way, even the actors affect change the whole thing, right? It's interesting. It's really like many moving parts.
Yeah, totally. And like with her, that's where the musical element came in because
Because she's a musician,
she's a musician, and that wasn't in the movie at all. And like when in one of her like second or third auditions, I asked her about it, and she played one of her songs, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, not only is like the feel of it feel resonant for the movie, but the lyrics, it was like this character wrote these songs. Um,
wow. And it just
all of her
happened
music,
by synchronicity. It wasn't planned at all,
but
right?
total synchronicity. So we just listened to all of her music and just decided which songs fit which parts of the movie based on what was going on in mood. And she didn't write any new songs for the movie. It was all pre-existing songs that just synchronistically fit in.
Wow. It's like magic.
Magic. Total magic.
And so we had the premiere. So what happens next with, I don't know how the life cycle of movies work. So yeah.
After it played at some festivals, we had a sales agent take it on, and now it's basically out and available on Amazon Prime, and it was on TV for a minute. And but now, if people want to find it, they can find it on YouTube or Amazon Prime, and that's basically it's like living on online platforms.
Awesome. So it's I Live For You. But when
Well,
I look at
actually,
IMDb,
when the
it's I
sales
Die
agent,
For You. Yeah.
yeah, the sales agent suggested a title change, and
Right.
so it's now called "I'd Kill for You."
I'd kill for you.
I'd kill for you. Yeah, I actually like a lot better. I think it actually fits more
Yeah. So it's
to the
I'd kill for
movie.
you if you want to find it. Folks, if you want to find it in Amazon Prime, the title is I'd Kill for You.
I'd
I
kill for
highly
you.
recommend it. It's
Yeah,
really,
and when you watch it, you'll realize why the title
yeah.
fits better.
Yeah, it's actually a rich movie. And is this your first feature film?
It's my first feature. Yeah.
Wow, that's really great for a first. If I'm not a film critic, but I think it was really great.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
what are you working on now? So after that, so that's done and it's living. I think that's what happens, right? Movies kind of live their own lives. It's like babies, right? Once you give
Yeah.
birth to it, they just have a life of their own, and you'll never know what they'll do. And then you work on the next one. What are you working on now? If you want to say, otherwise we can
Yeah.
talk about other stuff.
I have a film. I have a film called Lies for Rent. It's also a female.
Good
It's
title. I like these titles.
yeah, very dark. Yeah, this
Yeah.
one is also a psychological thriller, female driven. So that is something I'm directing early 2020.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then I'm also just looking for other projects and writing some things, and
Cool. So you
yeah.
have things. So how did you become like involved in this industry? It's like there's always many stories of how people get into the industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of born into it.
All
So
right.
my dad's a director and my mom is a producer, and like I was literally born into it. They they actually could like physically conceived me on a film set.
It's so good.
Their first film, my mom was like 21, and my
Wow.
my dad was 28, and he was directing his first feature,
Wow.
Scarecrows, and she was a college student looking to work on a production, and she applied for this like local, that was in Florida, this local production that was scarecrows, and she got hired like as a, I think, production assistant, but she was just so um, amazing. Yeah, that he was like, okay, you're, and it was a low budget film too. So he was just like, okay, you're producing this film, and she just basically took over the whole thing and became the producer, and ended up bringing more money into the project and just taking over the whole thing in that way. And they fell in love, and they had me like during the process.
Wow. There's a movie in that.
No, it's so wild.
Somewhere.
Let's talk about movies having a life of their own.
Yeah. That's good. You're
Yeah.
actually born into it. And it's good that you did they influence you or you just loved it? Because it can go two ways, right? Some people who are born into a certain industry follow it, but some rebel, like, I'm not gonna do what my
Yeah,
parents do.
it was
Yeah,
kind of both for me. Like
yeah.
I remember growing up and having like this very ambivalent sort of relationship to their work and to the whole industry in general.
Mm.
I was very rebellious against doing it. I remember like at a young age saying like, I'll never go into the film business. I never want to do what you guys do. It seems just horrible. You don't seem happy. And my mom was very much of the mindset of like, it's a really, really tough business.
Mm.
I, unless you like have to do it, don't, do something else. And my dad was always very encouraging of
Yeah.
me at least exploring it, because
Mm.
he's like, you have the mentorship and the connections with us, and if it's something that you love, is potentially, you have a little bit of a leg up in that way. You
Mm.
should at least explore it. So um I'm like, my I think I was like 17. I took a course at New York Film Academy. They're
Mm-hmm.
like four-week filmmaking program. And that was the first time like I actually made some shorts. And I remember just feeling like, oh fuck. Like it just felt like the most, I felt like a fish in water doing it. I was just like it immediately came naturally to me. I just felt like
Mm.
I knew what I was doing. I knew what to say, how to say it. Like I was just like, okay, this is just what I just what I'm supposed to do. Like despite my
Attitude towards it.
attitude
Rebellious.
towards it, I'm just like, yeah,
That's
I
good.
don't want it
And
to be this way, but that is the way it is.
it's good that you realize it early on because otherwise it would have been like a fight. And then,
A fight. It's still a fight. It's constantly a fight.
yeah, but it's a nice
My
fight to
psyche. Yeah.
cool. And
Yeah.
I was just when you were talking about how your parents met and how you were conceived, and it just made me realize how when I lived in LA, first before I lived there for a while when we were doing the coaching program, I thought I'll never like LA. It's too weird or it's too because as I only saw downtown LA before, and I said, "What's this?" But then when I lived there, I actually liked it, and I liked it really because of the people, in the sense that everyone there has is working on themselves, has a dream, wants to break in the industry, and that's certain aliveness of
Mm.
following one's dreams. It's like I think in LA, it's the best Uber and Lyft rides I've ever had anywhere in the world because you go on the Lyft ride and you talk to the driver. It's like, oh, I'm working on my script, I'm working on my music, and it's just like it's full
Yeah,
of people trying. There's something beautiful in that. I think.
it is. Yeah. It's both the thing that like irks me about LA, but it's also, I mean, yeah, that's a great perspective. There's an aliveness in that dream. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very like American. Like if I go to America, I can do anything, kind of thing. And yeah,
Yeah. The possibility.
yeah, yeah. Um, I guess What else? What else do you do in your life that fuels your creativity? Right? Like how do you keep the creativity alive? I suppose because after a while, if you do something all the time, sometimes you need some, you know.
I think a lot of what fuels my creativity, my work personally, um, is my like I don't want to say my spiritual life, but probably more relationships, to be honest.
Mm,
You know, like my first film was really sourcing from the pain of this volatile relationship I was in, and the breaking up of that, and the dynamics there, and exploring that, and what that meant for me, and how that reflected who I was in relationship, and and I feel like a lot of the stories that I'm um, drawn to are really about relationships, and
mm,
I feel like my this is really my obsession, is deconstructing human behavior through relationship and myself, and I'm
mm,
constantly on that sort of that journey of um of looking inward
mm.
through that lens, and I think that that's really like what comes out in my work,
Awesome.
and
And
that's what inspires me. That's what I'm doing when I'm not working. It's going on crazy rides,
into
crazy relationships.
right. As they say,
Yeah,
relationship is the Olympic sport, right?
it's
Of
totally,
relating, right?
it's so rigorous. Yeah.
Can you give us a flavor of what you've learned about relationships? Just a few themes and a few anecdotes, if you care to share them, if you want.
um, I think I think one of the big things I learned recently, I was just in a relationship that was probably the most rigorous relationship I've been in, very, very intense emotionally, all meaning like it triggered me in a lot of my like childhood stuff, and triggered me in a lot of ways constantly. And
Mm,
so I found myself um, really looking at that,
mm,
at the triggers. And I think like the big lesson in this, I'm always doing that in relationship, but I think the big one in this last one was um, seeing seeing the truth of who people are underneath their fear, and
mm,
underneath their um, these sort of like triggered ways of behaving. Like there was a way that I was able to like hold like the truth of people's of their like who they were underneath that, and that it didn't have to do with me, and like I could hold the beauty um, of them at the same time as these sort of like more human like fear states. So I think like a big theme for me that came out of this one was just like the like love being the truth. I mean, if I could simplify it, like that really like love is the truth.
it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I could relate with my own experience that for a while I was like a meditator, like I was kind of out of the world, and that was actually easier because
Yeah,
I could just be like, yeah, I'm just communing with the spirits and stuff. But then to be in bloody relationship with the messy human, that's actually the real spiritual practice, I think. You're right. How do I know who I am? I will really know about it if I'm triggered, and how do I show up when I'm in climax, as our language would say? Like, how do I
yeah.
hold myself, right?
And that's really where the challenge is because like we know that love is the truth, and when we sit in meditation and we go we know this, but to know that and to feel that in the midst of that, of being triggered and of being in that relationship with another, that's like, that's where the, and to be in pain and to still hold
Yeah,
that love is the truth, even in the midst of pain. That is like the layer that I feel like I got to in this last one, is to
yeah,
experience both at the same time and hold them both to be true,
yeah. And as we learned in orgasmic meditations, how to remain connected, right? No matter what.
no
It,
matter what.
yeah, yeah, you know
No
what I mean?
matter
Even if
what.
that's one of the most,
Oh my
it has
god.
served me so well in my life. It's like someone would be like raging and I could just hold it. It's like,
Oh,
wow, I could do that. Like amazing.
yeah,
I didn't run. I didn't.
yeah.
You know, that's what happens with most men is when the feminine is like raging, they just run away as fast as that they can. But now that it's
Yeah,
actually, I could train myself to get pleasure in holding that
yeah,
fire. You know, it's
and I
like
experienced
the
that too.
dragon.
I experienced that too, because in this last one I was dating a woman, so I got to
Oh,
experience what it is to hold the feminine, and it's way harder. It's way
yeah.
harder being in relationship to the feminine than the
How
masculine.
is it different? How is it way harder for you?
I think one of the hard spots was just how rapid the change is. The
Oh, okay,
sort of the
yeah,
unpredictability of the feminine.
yeah. And
And
I think that,
it's just, the masculine's very simple. Like,
yeah.
it's just way
Men
more,
are easy.
it's just way more simple. Yeah. The feminine, there's just like so much going on underneath the surface too. You have
Yeah,
to really like feel what's underneath the words and
yeah,
respond to that. And constantly, you have to constantly be in tune with it,
yeah,
or you're in trouble.
yeah. I could only imagine like,
It could
and
all collapse really quickly.
yeah, and but it can also like the phoenix resurrect spectacularly. It's quite interesting. I've seen that
Yeah,
because I maintain some relationships like long, even though I don't see them but all the time. But you could see how the feminine changes, and but that's what makes them interesting, right? That's why I'm That's what makes engaging with the feminine worthwhile because
so exhilarating. Yeah,
yeah, you're perpetually
you're on a
curious
like
because you
a
never know what's gonna
rapid
happen.
roller coaster ride.
Yeah, but it can
Yeah,
also be holding and nice. It's so interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I got a new love and respect for the feminine and respect for men, and like in relationship to me, to my feminine.
Now you know why it's
Now I
hard
know what it's like. I have,
to hold you.
more appreciation.
Yeah, I remember some poignant moments when I was there. The two of us sharing some stuff. It's like, wow, this is full on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, I think that's a good pause. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up? I think.
That felt good. I don't think so.
Mm, cool.
Feels pretty complete. Feels like we went
Yeah,
full circle.
yeah. It just felt like
We
we
went through my
landed,
birth and through my death in my last relationship.
and now maybe in the next episode, in the next live stream we do, we'll
Yeah,
talk about the resurrection.
yeah. I'll talk about the next film I made and how it was informed by this. I'm sure this will be content for one of my films,
It will fire it. Yeah.
for
Feel
sure. Yeah,
so good. It's so good. Thank you,
yeah.
Monica.
It
This
was
was
so good chatting with you.
yeah, and
Yeah.
well, I finished my degree this year, so hopefully I'll be traveling next year.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
so LA is definitely on the map if I go forth and travel the world.
Yeah, come visit me.
Yeah, I'd love
Yeah.
to hang out with you in all the craziness of LA. Thank you, Monica, and enjoy
Okay.
the rest of your day.
Thanks, Oliver. You too. Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Gotcha.